Hi guys, good morning. I wanted to give you your note card for today, which is patterns with linear growth. So this week's a short week. Make sure you're keeping up this week. This will go into grade book by we got to have our grades due in on Thursday, Friday. So this will be kind of like these things will be some of the last grades you get for quarter three. So stay up to date, keep up. Make sure you're taking notes and sending me the images as most of you have been doing, which is great. Also, a part of it will be the practice problems, right? So your grade not only includes your note card, but also the practice problems. So what we're going to do now is talk about how something grows and how a pattern grows. So for instance, when I look at this pattern right here, I've drawn a pattern that has five circles, one, two, three across the top, and then four and five. And what we're going to say is this pattern is going to grow. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to select this group, right? And I'm going to copy and paste it. So Control C, Control V, and then I'm going to move it over. And when I move it over here, this is going to be my start of design two. Now, in order for a pattern to grow, we need new stuff on it, right? So the new stuff that we're going to do is I'm going to make it red for now. I'm going to show us our new parts. We're going to add a circle right here, a circle right here, and one down here. So our new growth in that matter, right? If everyone's extending, our pattern now just got bigger, right? So then we're going to go ahead and move on to design three. Now I'm guessing you would be able to kind of predict what's going to happen next. If I look at design three, I say, okay, well, what happened from design one to design two? And I say, well, this thing added one circle on every kind of end, right? And that added three altogether. So what I would do now is I'm going to go back and I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to grab this again, and you guys are drawing it. We're going to go Control C, Control V, and we're going to move this over. This is our design three. Now in design three, that growth is going to happen again, right? The growth continues in that same pattern. So what we're going to do now is let's make it purple. We're going to come in here and add another circle to design three, one here and one there and one there. Now notice in design three, the new growth is in purple, right? So each one is getting bigger, but by the same amount, right? So now you won't necessarily always see the colors. I'm just doing in colors so you can see. But if you're doing it in, kind of like on your own paper, you can shade them in if you want to show where the growth is. But we're showing the growth. Now we record where we record the data, and that's where we use a table. Now, when we make a table, and we've done tables before, but tables help us to keep organized. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to draw a vertical table, and I'm going to say on one side, my x side, we have an x variable and a y variable, and this is like points that you're going to graph. And on this side, we're going to say design number. So here we're going to say design number, very small, I'm barely fitting it. And over here, we're going to say number of dots, number of dots, okay? And that's our totals, right? So we are basically comparing a design with the number of dots. Now, in this type of table, what you usually do is you start with the things that march along the X. There is design one, there's design two, there's design three. And then we could also say there's going to be a design four and a design five, but we don't know what those are yet. Now, we can guess though. We can predict. So let's look at design one. How many did we have in design one? Well, we had one, two, three, four, five. So I come over here, and for design one, I write that there are five dots, right? I look at design two, and we're going to count design two. So for design two, we had one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. So I'm coming down here, and I put that on design two. We had eight dots. And on design three, I'm guessing you already know how many there are, even if we don't have to count them. There should be 11. And the reason I know that there's 11, or there should be 11, is because the difference here is plus 3. We added 3 dots. So that means I assume that this one is going to be 11 because it should be doing the same thing, adding 3 dots, right? Based on what I'm seeing in our pattern. So let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Excellent. Great. That's what we thought. So now the question is, what else happened? So we're going to come up here and we're going to say, well, if we want to know what happens next, like we could say, well, question mark, what happens here? And it's not that difficult of a thing to do at this point. Let's get rid of those question marks and fill them in. If we know that already the pattern was adding 3 every time, we can then predict that we know the next one is going to be 11 plus 3, which is 14. And the one after that is plus 3, always the same here, and that's going to be 17. And what you notice is that this repeat of 3 every time being added, first the 3 red and then the 3 purple, right? Those are things that are kind of growing. This thing is growing, right? And it's growing by the same amount. So now we want to say, is that a linear pattern? And this is where it gets a little tricky. And what I want you guys to pay attention to is the fact that this is going up by the same amount means it must make a straight line. So this growth, and I'm going to put a big arrow here. I'd like you to do this too. Okay. And I'd like you to write this down. Consistent growth. Let me see if I can fit this in. Consistent, that means the same. Consistent growth means, or leads us to believe that this means a linear pattern. Consistent growth. And I should say this means, by this I mean plus 3 every time, right? Every time. I'm going to put that on there. So consistent growth right here means it will be a line, right? Simple. And a line means linear. It will be a line, or we can say underneath there, linear, right? Linear. And now what we're going to do is just do a very quick graph just to show you how it works. And this might take me a second to draw. I probably should have drawn this before. But we're going to draw a quick graph to see if it actually plays out, if it actually works to be a line. So my graph, which probably should have turned on the grid lines, but you know what? We can do this. So we start at 5. So what I'm going to do is go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a 5 there. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wait, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is my y. Remember, I'm going up my y. And then let's see what happens up here. I'm going to go a little further. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, I'm not going to label every point because that would not make any sense. That's my y. My x, I'm going to spread out a little more. I can do that, right? Sometimes you can do that. You don't always have to make them exactly even. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's plot those points. The first point we're going to plot is 1, 5. So that means it starts right here. Notice how these line up, right? That lines up. That lines up. Second point we're going to plot is 2. So we come up here, right? We go straight up until we get to 8, which I know is 2 below 10 or 3 above 5. So I'm coming over. I'm going to try to make this as even as I can. I put a dot right here. So now I've got 2 points. Now, obviously, 2 points will always make a line. What we got to do is check it. What happens when I come up here and I put in the 11? So trying to come straight up. I'm trying to be even here. We'll see how well it should work out, but we'll see. We come over and we put a dot right here. Now that looks like it's pretty lined up. Let's look at 4. 4 should be 14 if we did all of our math right, which I'm pretty sure we did. Right? I'm coming up. I'm trying to use a grid, or I'm trying to make it. You guys, if you're working in your notebooks, you'll notice the same thing. It's a little tricky to make these things straight, but do your best because it will matter when you're drawing it. Come over here, and I put my dot right there. That's 414, right? And now we're going to come over here with another color. Let's do a pink. And we're going to draw a line between those and say, does it line up? So does that, and that, and that. And if I've drawn my graph pretty well, does this make a straight line? And I think you can tell that it does, right? Like if we graph this on a perfect graph, we would know that that's a straight line. So this is a linear, I'm going to write this here, linear graph, right? Because it is going up by plus 3 every time. Consistent means it goes up by plus 3 every time, and it will be a line. So you notice this. You notice it works. You notice that every time we're adding the same 3 dots to spread out a little bit. And what's happening is consistent growth. Okay, that's a little bit long. There's a lot to do there, but this is a nice note card, right? It gives you the sense of like what happens with the pattern. Now, this week, you're going to be doing a number of problems where you graph things, but you won't have to draw the graph. You just have to locate the points. It'll actually be much easier than what we just did right now. But I like this note card because it kind of gives you the sense of how something grows. It shows you how to make it a table and then how to put it into a graph. I'd like your note card to look a lot like this. I will give practice problems, but I might focus on those. We'll see. But make sure you're getting this done. Make sure you have a chance. You write this down. You kind of do your best to make it neat. And then we can talk more about like how we notice linear growth versus non-linear growth, like in another video at another maybe later in the week, maybe in some of your exercises, some of the assignments you do. All right, guys, have a great day. I'll see you all soon, I hope, or some of you I'll see soon. And the other ones, looking forward, we have career day on Wednesday, so that should be a lot of fun. Okay, bye everybody.